Welcome to Unfiltered with Mike DeZonia here on WILI 1400 AM, 95.3 FM. And we're going to be taking calls today at 860-456-1400.
Hey, you got it right, and you didn't even have to use the cheat sheet.
I did. They took my cheat sheet. I do, But in studio today, we've got Chris Reddy and Curts Ehler. We're glad to be back in the air. It is hot today, and it's getting hotter out for the rest of the week.
Yeah, you're not kidding. It is hotter than a rusty chainsaw in a pawn shop out there.
Wow.
And just be safe, everybody, because we're having this heat wave all the way through the week, right?
Yeah, it looks that way. It looks like it's going to be even hotter midweek. It's really starting to.
The show hasn't even started, and I've already finished my WILI branded water. It's a lot of show left. Let's see if I make it.
You bring up a good point, though, because it is going to be hot enough where there's going to be heat-related emergencies out there. So everybody be careful the next few days. Hot, humid conditions, people that have underlying medical conditions really have to be concerned. Somebody with breathing problems, congestive heart failure, circulatory issues, those are the ones that are going to be most susceptible to the heat the next few days. So everybody just keep an eye on your neighbors, your friends, your family. Make sure that everybody's okay and stay cool.
There we go.
There you go.
I hear that the cooling center will be opening up at the Wyndham Recreation Center. So it'll be on the senior center side. And check the town website for some hours if you just need somewhere to get in, get cool, enjoy some AC. You check the town website. Cooling center will be operating over at the senior center side of the community center.
All right, that's something everybody can take advantage of while you're there. See what kind of programs they got going on. Maybe get involved in something. But I last week we had a emergency town council meeting, and
another emergency.
Yeah, it was.
We just jumped from one to the next.
Just jumping from one. We had to have a meeting. I'm not sure who called it. I never really looked into it because I'll be honest with you. For a day or so, I almost thought about just removing myself from the political scene in town because I was just so disgusted, And then the more and more I thought about it, I said, if I do that, what's going to happen? It just opens their doors even more. Nobody, So we've got to continue on with what we're doing, okay? And what I'm saying is, this is the pure example of just they don't care. A motion was put out on the floor by the Democrat side of the town council to have the entire town pay for some much-needed repairs at our safety complex, our fire, police,
dispatch, and they are needed repairs. But what they did say was they wanted the entire town to pay for that. Now, our town charter clearly states that this is to be paid for by the Willimantic Taxing District and the Willimantic Taxing District only. When brought up to the town council that this was part of the charter and we may want to look into this, there wasn't even a second thought. It was just a complete line vote to do what they wanted to do. They didn't care that it was in the charter. They didn't care anything. All they wanted to do was put this motion through. Mm-hmm. And it just bothers me that you can have something in writing and there is absolutely nothing that we can do to stop these people. They will do whatever it takes, whenever it takes, and however it takes. They will, on a personal note, they will go after you. Will go after your business. They will go after you personally. They will do what they have to do to get things done. And until the voters of Willimantic Wyndham decide that they've had enough and they vote these players out, this is going to continue to happen. And I don't think it's helping because look at our financial position in town. Look where we sit. Is this helping? Is the status quo helping our town? Are we getting better? Because we've had the same people in control for years and years and years. Even though you have, every once in a while, you'll have like now we have 3 Republicans on the town council. But you still have the majority, the supermajority that will vote them out.
They don't need a single Republican vote. They don't need a single independent vote. Yep, it can be all decided ahead of time in a caucus. They can come on in if they've got themselves themselves a lock in the caucus between the party members before the meeting. They can just ram it right through.
Right.
That's what we see at the state level also.
Yeah.
It's been a supermajority for the past several years, not just a majority, supermajority, and we see the same type of thing happening.
On the state level, you look at that, and it's so disheartening where they're in session to discuss things that could actually help the people of Connecticut, that could help Eastern Connecticut. And what they're doing is they're looking at how to gerrymander voting areas, and it's not only at the state level, but they bring it down to the local level. They've gone after our registrar's office. It is total insanity, and if you listen to these people, they're not even hiding it. They are just full throttle go at it. Because they know they can't, or they feel they can't be stopped. But the people of Windham, Willimantic, you guys can stop this. We can get people to show up at these meetings. We can get it out on social media. We can get it out in the newspapers. Well, what we have of one, and we get it all out there and let people know. Show up and vote, because whether you vote yes or no, your elected officials should still be following the laws, the statutes, the charter. These things were put in place as protections for the citizens of our town, of our state, of our country.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much for elevating this issue. The capital expenditure vote that the town council had a special meeting to advance. The idea that the entire town would pay for the fire and police complex here in Willimantic. You're absolutely right. It is 100% clear in the charter. Chapter 9, Section 2, for anyone that's interested. Any real property that is controlled by the taxing district. The taxing districts can't own any property. That's a state thing. But if you have possession and control of that property, has to be paid lock, stock, and barrel by the taxing district. Clear as day. There's also a section in there that if the taxing district allows the town to use property in its possession in whole or in part, that the taxing district can agree to do so, which the Willimantic taxing district did agree to do. For purposes of our emergency operations center. If there were, let's say, if there was a disaster, God forbid, at the nuclear power plant at Millstone, if there was a natural disaster, the Willimantic taxing district allows the town to use the fire and police complex, the Willimantic Police and Fire Complex, to be the emergency operations center for the entire town. That's an example. The dispatch center, which isn't a town program, it is an independent agency. It's its own 501c3.
Yep. Right. Yep.
The dispatch center operates out of the Willimantic Police and Fire Complex, but it is clear as day. Chapter 9, Section 2 of the Charter: all property that is in the possession of the taxing districts has to be paid lock, stock, and barrel. All associated costs with real property paid for by the taxing districts. And you're absolutely right. There's an effort to get it to be a town-wide expenditure, and that has real ramifications for the whole town. If we set a precedent that we're going to start paying for each other's taxing district services, I can quickly imagine it becoming a fight with, oh, well, how come you didn't pay for improvements at my volunteer firehouse?
Sure.
How come, if we're going to do the building, then why don't we start buying squad cars for the police?
Right.
We don't need to get into a tit for tat between Windham and Willimantic residents. We have a healthy, amicable relationship join together our 3 Wyndham villages with the former city of Willimantic. How do we have that agreement? It's in our charter. Our charter is the marriage between the Wyndham villages and the former city of Willimantic. It's how we agree to work together. And if we disrespect the charter, we're opening ourselves up for all kind of fights. How many years do we want to go back for all the improvements that have been made out in the Wyndham villages that weren't paid for by the whole town?
Right.
Expenses that were paid for on the Wyndham villages mill rate rather than bonded through the whole town. We want to. We don't want to crack open this sort of fight. We don't want to get into a tit for tat. We have a healthy agreement for the expenses borne as a whole town between the Wyndhams and the former city of Willimantic. Let's respect that.
Right. You know, and this goes back to where these same politicians wanted to push the Willimantic police out into the Wyndhams.
It was good 10 years. Every 10 years on the dot, they were teeing that up. Yeah.
Right, and for the most of that is to take over and take part of the benefit of paying the bills of this that taxing district. You know, in the Wyndhams, the residents of Wyndham stood up and said clearly they did not want to be a part of the Willimantic police. Have the Willimantic Police Department out there. We've got 3 healthy volunteer fire departments out there.
Well-trained, well-staffed.
Well-trained, well-staffed. They do a phenomenal job. And as does Willimantic Fire Department. They do a phenomenal job. You know, the safety complex, yes, it is something. But this goes back to, you talk about dropping the ball and things like this. This is a bunch of politicians and town managers, past town managers, not the current, that just dropped the ball on this complex, didn't take care of the properties, and now they want to look for the way out. They want that golden ticket, and who do they see? They see the Wyndhams can pay for it. Let's have the Wyndhams pay for it, and we're going to push this through. And I'm saying no. I mean, as a Wyndham resident, I have no say in what happens with the Willimantic Police Department, because if I did, I definitely wouldn't. I'd be talking about them laxing, you know, their requirements to be a police officer in Wyndham, or Willimantic rather, you know. But I don't have a part of that, so I don't get into that.
Exactly.
I stay right out of that. And if I have a problem with our police, I call the state police and talk to them. But what Wyndham's, another person had mentioned that we use the Willimantic's ambulance, and yes, that is true. There's a paid agreement. Wyndham pays for some top salaried fire department employees. We're not paying for EMTs to go out to the Wyndhams with an ambulance. We are paying the salaries of top tier fire department people. We also pay for dispatch. We pay for all that. So it's not like it's a free service for us. And that's what these local politicians need to understand, that Wyndham does pay their fair share.
Mm-hmm. I clearly worked in this service area for a long time. And one of the things that I'm going to just say about, I think, what's happening here, and you look across some of the other similar situations, such as Norwich and even, excuse me, some of the towns that have worked towards consolidation. And I think that that's what is kind of being pushed, is there's grant money available as towns are trying to consolidate services. You're correct that anywhere that Willimantic Fire Department's ambulance goes, there's an agreement with those towns and there's a payment for that service. There's also billing involved too, because they get to bill for their services too.
Right.
True that the dispatch center receives money from each of the towns that it provides dispatch services for. Mm-hmm. If it clearly says in the charter, as you guys are saying there, and I have not seen that yet, but then we have something to discuss, and there's something that voters should be able to weigh in on if that truly is how that's set up. Now, things have clearly changed over the years. There's a lot less towns that are involved with that dispatch center than there was 15 years ago. When I look at, for instance, what's going on in Norwich right now with the fire department, and we've talked about this on previous shows before, where I've said that the rate of volunteerism in fire departments is definitely dropping. That makes it appealing because just like with the state government, the larger you can create in a municipality for work and requirement need, be able to show that need, the bigger your budget can be. So there's, clearly some things here, and I've heard the arguments that, yes, the Willimantic police will go outside of the Willimantic district if there's something that needs to be done expeditiously. They need to get there quickly. They'll go there. Clearly, there's spots in Windham where it could be 20 to 25 minutes for a state trooper to arrive.
Right.
So, they're, and you've decided years ago when they tried to do that police department consolidation that you didn't want that. So, it's a very interesting topic to kind of bring up here on the radio and talk about again, because this is something that many of these towns are going through right now and looking at, and it's something that people should be aware of. Like you said earlier, you have to be informed about these issues, know what's going on, and then choose to vote appropriately in order to make a change happen, and that's what we need to do around here.
Chris and Mike, you've both brought up what voters can do, and we're talking about that voters do have a right to vote on this issue. There's actually a few stages where voters can get involved in this particular issue when it comes to the funding for repairs at the fire and police complex here in Willimantic. The next event happens this Wednesday, July 1st. Check the town website. There's a Board of Finance special meeting with these capital projects. They have to get approved by the town council and the Board of Finance before they can go to a town meeting. That's the step that we do for an appropriations process for our capital budgets outside of our normal annual budgeting process. So this Wednesday, July 1st, check the town website. There's a special Board of Finance meeting handling this issue specifically. Voters can go ahead and weigh in during public comment and try to influence the Board of Finance. If the Board of Finance does not advance this, it cannot be approved at town meeting. If it does go through the Board of Finance, there will be a town meeting on the issue. And Mike, I believe that the town council has set a date and time for that town meeting, but we should probably wait before telling listeners because things could change.
Things could change, yes. I believe there was one. I was so, and I'll tell you, and I'll apologize to a lot of the people that listen to us, a lot of people that watched the last council meeting. When they did that, and they I kind of put my stuff away and sat there for the rest of the meeting and said, you're going to do what you want to do. So, what difference is my vote anyway? And at that point, I had I was going to leave, resign, and it was going to be done. And I realized that I definitely owe the people who voted for me the rest of this term, and probably more than that now, because it just sparked this new fire, and we've got to stop this. And I'm not saying one side is wrong or right. I'm saying if there's a statute or a charter provision that disallows or allows something, it's got to be followed. And if you don't like that, there's always a process to change that. Mm-hmm. And the process should be done, in the clear of day, in front of people, out in the open. It's not supposed to be being done at a Dunkin' Donuts on Friday morning.
Or waved away at a town council meeting because people choose not to want to pay attention
Totally
to it.
Waved away. I mean, not one of the council members on the other side of the aisle even thought about the fact or even took a second guess or glance at the fact it was against the charter. And the funny thing is before the meeting started, I talked to the mayor. I told him where it was. I showed him in writing, and he still moved forward. He does not care. The level of arrogance on the town council and in town politics right now is beyond what anybody could believe. We are dealing with people who just don't care, and they just want, and they want, and they want, and they want, and they're going to walk out with something, whether it's right or wrong or the best thing for the public. They're going to do something, and they're going to show that they're in control. We've got to take that control, and we've got to put it back in the hands of the people.
And the taxpayers.
The taxpayers are who controls it. Everybody, we hear, I constantly hear the town manager is the boss. No, the town manager is not the boss. The town manager is under the town council. The town council is not the boss. The voters are the boss. The taxpayers, the people out there that are walking up and down these sidewalks every day, the people that are out there, living in the Wyndhams, Willimantic, no matter where you are the boss. You put the council members in there. You decide what happens. Mm-hmm. And that is really gotta start taking form. And really, we've got to start paying attention. Mm-hmm. We see a little bit of a uprise during our budget referendums. Mm-hmm. We see people coming out, they're upset. We're not seeing high enough numbers yet. And I'm not saying because we got yes or no votes. I am saying just get people. Mm-hmm. We need people to come out. We need people to start understanding what's going on in town, what's going on in your state. Mm-hmm. Take a look back. This is all open book stuff. I mean, we can look at what's the state rep been working on? What's the senator been working on? What's our town council? Our email, our website is there. You can look at the questions asked by the chairman of the Democratic Town Party in the last couple weeks. They're on the manager's report. Mm-hmm. Look at these questions, and then start looking back at minutes of the meetings. You'll understand the players, and they're not here. They're not playing for your benefit.
Well, Mike, you talked about being upset at the last town council meeting about this vote to try to move some capital spending on the Willimantic Fire and Police Complex to be borne by the whole town. You talk about being upset, and I heard you apologize to the voters, but you're in a tough place sitting up there and being one of those town council members, because I'm trying to be sensitive with my words here, but when you say that other council members do not care about what's explicitly written in charter, there are ramifications for that. Mm-hmm. When I think about the time that I've sat on zoning and planning and zoning, when someone has a special project, when someone has a special application that needs to be considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission, to think about all of the work that we do, because we're concerned as a commission about one abutter or a few people in the vicinity of the property where the project is being held. The amount of research, the amount of questions being posed to town staff and town legal, to be concerned with one abutter, to be concerned with a few property owners in the vicinity for a proposal to the Planning and Zoning Commission. You, as a town council member, sending a proposal to a vote, you're concerned with every stakeholder, every tax account, every voter that has a stake in this decision for spending on capital across the whole town. What is that? 1,700, 2,000 accounts?
Yeah. It's quite a bit. But, we're going to take a quick commercial break here on WILI, 1400 AM, 95.3 FM. 1400 AM, 95.3 FM. Unfiltered with Mike DeZonia, Chris Reddy, and Curtis Ehler. And we do have the phone lines open, so if there's something that you want to talk about, if we've struck a nerve or, anything, this is an Unfiltered show. Say what you got to say. I even had somebody call me a fat guy this morning. Nothing bothers me. They want to know if I had a skinny person to come and get into a spot on their at their job.
How nice of them.
Yeah, nothing bothers me. This is Unfiltered. Okay, I embrace the fat guy effect. So we were talking about the different things in the town, and there's a lot of good things happening too. I
was just going to mention that we got some great stuff coming up this week.
Yeah, let's get into that.
You guys ready for the Boombox Parade?
Every year. I can't wait. I count down the days like Christmas.
Yep, and then we have an extra celebration right afterwards with the 250th down at the Gilson Square and Shibu stage.
Yep.
Thank you to the Wyndham RTC for donating a little bit of money towards that event.
Yeah. It was definitely something that the RTC wanted to do. And it's about the town, the country, everything. Celebrating who we are, why, what made us who we are, and the path that got us there.
Yeah, and the Boombox Parade is a great representation because it is literally just everybody getting together and walking down Main Street. It is like nothing else.
Speaking of Main Street, the state DOT is doing some serious work on our Main Street right now.
It's gonna be a little rough this weekend.
No, I can tell that they're trying to wrap it up in time for the event. So
good.
Yeah. So thanks to the state DOT, I've got nothing but great things to say about the work they're doing on Main Street. Yep. And I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to get rid of that rumble strip that we have right in front of Thread City Diner.
Isn't that something? Years and years ago, going through there, it seems like, you go through and you have a perfect toolbox in the back of your service truck. Everything's put in line. And by the time you get to Dunkin' Donuts, every tool is in another spot, It doesn't matter how slow you go. And I talked to one of the medics recently, and we were just having a conversation about it, and they mentioned that, and they said, how grateful they are because you're going through there they're going through with a patient in distress, and you're going through this washboard effect, and it's not very good on the patients.
I imagine laying on a backboard after hurting your neck or your back might be a little uncomfortable bouncing down Main Street.
It's kind of like getting pulled down the stairs on your head.
One thing I noticed, though, as a paramedic, was that the streets are always the worst the closer you get to the hospital. And that was kind of like one of those unwritten rules.
Here we go. We're getting close, boys. We're bouncing off the benches. Yeah. Yep. So, and that's just what are they going to do when that's gone, because that's like a staple. Everybody knows where you are in town, when you hit them rumble strips. So, but it's nice. They're going to be going. There's so many improvements that are happening. It's just I wish all these how do I want to say it? Pre-election time, things would happen all the time. Mm-hmm. It seems like always right before the elections happen, we get some small infrastructure upgrades or
crumbs to the peasants.
Right. I haven't heard much more on the school. That was talked about a little bit during that meeting.
We're talking about the Natchog School, aren't we?
Natchog, yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing more about that actually at this Wednesday's special Board of Finance meeting as well. I would love to hear a lot more information. Mike, I know I know you have quite a bit of experience with your time that you served on Board of Education. A lot of discussions about the condition of the Natchog School, and you had some questions about the boiler replacement project that's proposed over there. You got some interesting responses during the town council meeting about the scope of the project.
Right, and for years and years, I was under the impression that when you start cutting into pipes and shaking things up in a building that age that, you've got dust particles and things that go all over the place. We're involved in another job in another town closer to the shoreline right now that's got a situation going on with a bunch of asbestos removal and abatement. But they've assured us that there's no asbestos in there, and they're not going to be shaking the pipes. They're going to be using the new technology that we just haven't heard of yet.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what kind of like quantum technology they have for how you can cut a pipe that causes no vibration or no disturbance of any coarse particulate matter. I'm not saying what kind of coarse particulate matter it could be.
Right.
Wrapping on those pipes. I just think it's fascinating that the cost and scope of the project has actually been downgraded. Initially, we had heard an estimate of $750,000 for a replacement of the 2 boilers at the Natchog School, and now we're hearing that the cost estimates have actually gone down.
Right.
When I think it's fair to say we both expected them to go up.
Yeah,
when there was more research about the scope of the project, any potential for asbestos being disturbed, especially in the occupied floors, I would only expect that number to go up, not down.
Right, and the other thing is, my other question was, why wouldn't we take the kids out of Natchog and put them in Wyndham Center? And we got a great answer by Lynn Ide, the chair of the Board of Ed. She told us that the kids would not fit in the Wyndham Center School. So after that, we did some research and we found out there were 5 more kids in Natchog than the last class at Wyndham Center. So I mean, what are we going to do with those 5 kids?
Yeah, that seems like an unmanageable problem.
Yeah, definitely 5 kids, unmanageable. And then I really thank her for that information. And we
wouldn't want to like bust through any walls or blow through any roofs with all the. I mean, 5 kids is
5 kids.
I can't even imagine the number of square feet.
How would we bust all them 5 kids in? Get them in. The lines for the buses would be out into the road. We would never get people through on Bricktop. It's ridiculous. Definitely spend the money in town because, we got more kids. I hope everybody understands the sarcasm that's listening to us right now.
Yeah, I wonder how that last conversation we just had back and forth is going to stand up to history now that this is saved on YouTube.com for all time.
YouTube.com. I mean, you can go see us everywhere. So there's a lot of issues going on in town. But getting back to the Boombox Parade.
Yeah.
Are you going to be blessing us with your presence at the Boombox Parade?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
When does Chris not show up in town for something?
I'm looking forward to it. We had a great time in 24 when I was there.
Yeah.
And we, again, plan to have a great contingent of candidates from Eastern Connecticut.
That's awesome.
Did I hear something about our Republican congressional candidate might be coming to the Boombox Parade too?
I think that we can pretty safely say that is something that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's George Austin,
Yep.
Running for the 2nd Congressional District. That's us over here in Eastern Connecticut. With some, now we've expanded a little bit west of the river now, our 2nd Congressional District, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have to get too technical. We can just say East
No,
of the
it's
river.
that kind of north-central area that...
So yeah,
picked up
I'm
a
really
little bit,
excited that George is going to be there. I know he's going to have a good contingent, and it's just great to have a good showing on a really important day.
Yep.
Right. And the other thing is, if you want to come down and get involved and show your support for George, Chris, Brian.
Yep. Or just the good old US of A.
Or just the good old USA, you're welcome to come down and meet us. Bump into Curtis at the what's the name of the lot there?
Let's call it Gilson this year. We change it every year. We'll call it Gilson Square this year.
Gilson Square, yeah, because every year it's got a different name. And every year when they say it, I'm like, where? I look at my wife and I'm like, where is that? And it's just a renamed Gilson. So that's where we're going to go, and that's where the start. It starts there every year, and every year I look at the name and it's changed, and I say, oh, where's that going to be?
I'm trying to Google the major parcel. Where's
the major parcel?
Yeah.
And So, and the older people in town will tell me so and so's old property. You know, I'm like, oh, George's old property when he was married to Mary Beth. Yeah, I'm like,
Hey,
oh,
if you're a
okay.
small towner, you'll get it. It might be Bosquette's Appliances now, but it will always be Agway to me. It will
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
and everybody will know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Everybody will know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So it's good enough. It's nice. I mean, there's benefits to being a small town kind of guy. You know, you could have Alzheimer's for years and no one would ever know.
No.
It's the Agway.
Yeah. So you know, I'm getting major pressure to get a float done for this parade,
Oh boy. Okay.
and from all different angles, and it's like it's going to be hot in the next couple of days, and I haven't started building a float, so. You know,
Are you saying that you need some help, Mike?
I'm just like saying, and I haven't
Or
got
are you
any
overwhelmed?
ideas. I am overwhelmed here.
You know, Mike, you've given the phone number out twice to call into the radio show. Do you have another number that people can call in to volunteer their time on a beautiful
Beautiful float.
America 250 float?
You know, I'll give them your number.
Yeah, I'm going to conveniently be out of town for the next couple of days.
Yeah. So, but for those of you who know me, and if you want to get involved and help with a float, contact me outside of the show, and I will be at my shop, probably working on a float. So, other than that, there's a couple new positions happening in town, this and that. What about you? What's going on the state level, Chris?
So I'm going to follow up on a story that we talked about. I want to say it was around the end of 2025.
Okay.
And this had to do with Pura, when there was concerns that there had been a number of unilateral decisions that were made by the former chairwoman of the agency, and that there had been a lawsuit by Eversource and Avangrid.
Yes.
And it had to do with the dockets that were not following state statute in their assessment by Pura, and that the former chairwoman had signed off using an executive secretary, claiming that the full panel or commission had acted on a particular docket case.
Oh.
So this actually was resolved.
okay.
This was resolved in just the past couple weeks.
Oh, how was the answer? How much is it going to cost us?
It's, well, that's a loaded question. What it did cost us, and I want to just take a second to kind of review what happened here. For years, in fact, since January 1st of 2020, the Pura, the commission, was supposed to be set at 5 members. Mm-hmm. It had been only 3, including the chairwoman, who has now resigned. And what happened for virtually those whole 6 years, in fact, the statement that came out regarding this case said that virtually every decision since January 1st of 2020, or nearly all of them, was made in a unilateral way by the former chairwoman, who in fact was at times blocking information to other commissioners, of which there was only 3. The way that these docket cases are supposed to be handled is that of the 5 commissioners, 3 are chosen. 1 is deemed the presiding officer.
Okay.
The former chairwoman deemed herself the presiding officer in virtually every single docket case throughout those 6 years, and then used the executive secretary's signature below on these docket rulings to make it look like a full commission had voted on this. As part of the agreement in resolution of this lawsuit, basically Pura had to say, yeah, that's exactly what happened, and it does not look good. It, in fact, probably cost ratepayers in Connecticut tens of millions of dollars over those 6 years for decisions. And I outlined a couple of those, if you remember, a while ago, where it was a decision that directly affected your bill. And this was made without the proper due process or statutory regulations being followed that you would expect from this level of an agency where it is controlling this quasi-public Eversource and electrical grid that we have. So the ultimate ruling here is that the procedures are changing. We do have a full commission of 5 now.
Okay.
That's been for the past couple months that Governor Lamont has actually had that full commission available. I'm going to still say that it seems to be quite partisan in nature. We are only a couple of days away from Pura setting the rates for July 1st for the next 6 months, so we'll see what happens there. Some people have seen some decrease in the public benefits charges, and some of that is due to some programs that have expired. However, one of the things that's really important for people to keep in mind is that Eversource has gone to Pura and said there's going to be an 11% rate increase that we're asking for approval for, and in fact, for residential customers, it's probably going to be a little closer to like 13%.
This is the distribution.
This is actually going to be under public benefits also, because some of this is for storm recovery from previous years that has been kicked down the road by Pura for the past several years. So now the bills are coming due, and we're going to be the ones that have to pay it. So we're going to have to see what happens in the next few days here. We're obviously coming to peak electricity demand time right now, especially with the temperatures that we're going to be seeing at the end of this week. There's going to be a lot of AC running. So we're really going to be able to test the system and see what's going to happen here. But I want everybody to also keep in mind that much of our electrical costs and the fact that we are number 2 in the nation in electrical cost is legislative. We need to have legislators in office that truly are looking at the way that we're handling electrical generation, distribution, and public benefits charges. Personally, I think that all those public benefits charges need to become part of the state budget, where it's something that we can actively debate on the floor of the House or the Senate to make sure that we do have a ratepayer representation there, because right now we don't. In Pura, there is no one that's representing the ratepayer.
Right.
Well, Chris, thank you for keeping on top of it. Gets so complex because you hear the slow dribbles in the news cycle. Distribution fees are going to go up. Public benefits charge. We need to make up for the expenses of storm recovery. But also on July 1st, there's going to be a rate increase being considered. Being able to stay on top of the big picture, I'm really grateful for you for having that statewide focus. Thank you for that. The issue of being the number 2 most expensive state for electricity in the country, I just can't get over how inexcusable that is with where we've come as Connecticut being one of the industrial powerhouses of the world to wondering if our residents can afford to run their AC during this heat wave is just mind-blowing and inexcusable.
And some of it is because we became strongly dependent on natural gas. That still is our primary source for electrical generation in Connecticut. And we are landlocked by states that are not allowing us to increase that at all.
Oh, absolutely.
New York, Massachusetts, they're not going to allow us to expand that distribution. They want the exact opposite. They prefer it was even less, and we still are dependent there. Millstone's providing a huge amount. Still, with all solar arrays that are going up all around the state, it is still a minuscule amount of generation.
But when you think about our proximity to resources, from Ohio,
Pennsylvania
with their oil and gas, Pennsylvania with their coal, their gas, some oil. When you think about our proximity to Canada with its supply of natural gas and oil, when you think of our abundant river resources, I mean, why is every river in Connecticut a gentle stream compared to everywhere else you go in the country or around the world? Right. We dammed every single river in this state to provide the electricity, which caused the American Industrial Revolution. All of the infrastructure is close, one step away from being there, and a willingness to fight Massachusetts or New York to get that Ohio, Pennsylvania, or Canadian natural gas or oil pipelines in place. The willingness to look at common sense environmental regulation reform to be able to get that hydro, that wind back in place. Another look at our nuclear generation and our ability to support Millstone and perhaps other reactors. That we are at an abundance of riches being on this beautiful East Coast, Long Island Sound, gentle water, simple port state, so proximate to so many energy resources, and yet somehow we are the second most expensive state in the country. How does that happen but for terrible planning and terrible leadership?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. And layering of energy policy. Right? Like
there's a wonderful
one thing
local
expires,
story.
the next one, yeah.
Right here in our congressional district. I'm not going to name company names because I don't want to go into too much detail and blow anybody up. But there are a number of efforts in the East Hartford area or the Hockenham River area in general, because there are a number of existing mills and former hydro plants in the Hockenham River area that have been applying for various permits and applications to be able to restore hydropower generation in that area. We're talking about a generational process, 30 years to complete the paperwork to get a turbine back in the water for a river that runs through mills and plants that have been dammed for 200 years.
One sitting right next door to us.
Sitting right next door to us. That's why I don't want to get into naming names, because I don't want anybody to catch any shade in my district.
Yep. And you bring up a good point, because one thing that I do want to point out about Connecticut is that when I was growing up, it was the DEP. And now we have the DEEP. This is a plan that has never worked in any other state. Environment and energy, we can say there's a connection there.
Absolutely.
Two dramatically different roles and functions as state organizations.
Absolutely.
Right.
To put those two together, I think was one of the worst ideas.
Well, it could work if we got if we divorce the non-science, the religious sort of aspect of environmentalism from the reality.
Right, but even Pura falls under DEEP.
Sure.
So now you have a direct conflict of interest of what the role of Pura as...
It's hard to divorce that, yeah.
Yeah, from DEP. It's almost like a parent-child relationship at that point with DEP and Pura. So we really have to look at, like you said, not only acceptable forms of electrical generation, expanding that potentially for the future to ones that hydroelectric is a great option. Those things in small cell nuclear, which is the technology that's coming out where they are units that can be stacked on top of each other to meet demands. Important things we need to look at for the future, absolutely. So go ahead, take us out.
No, we got a few minutes. We got 3 minutes left.
All right.
4 minutes left.
So one other thing that I'll bring up for you guys, because I do have one other little tidbit of information here, and this, again, is going to be my, I want to say, interest in trying to peel back the onion here of what we have going on in Connecticut with regard to transparency and accountability in some of our I'm going to say not only state agencies, but also state unions in Connecticut. You've probably heard that the federal government is now asking for more information from unions about their expenses and how they utilize member money and through dues. Well, it turns out that Connecticut has had on the books for many years that unions of 25 members or more have to provide their yearly summation of expenses and how their money was used. Turns out that while it is something that is a statute, it's not enforced at all. The fine is $25 for not reporting this. And it has not only not been reported for decades now in Connecticut, but it also has never levied a fine against anybody. And in fact...
So we're owed a lot of $25 from what I'm hearing.
Well, yes, if you want to go that way. But even more concerning for me is that in a state where we have one majority party that is so closely aligned with unions and that there's any type of obstruction from being able to see how that money is spent, if you're a member who pays dues to your union, it should not be difficult at all for you to look at this and find out how that money is being spent. And I did actually talk about 2 lawsuits that are going on in Connecticut right now. One of them is by a professor from the Connecticut State College and University system who questioned this and the ability to see it, and then also a former Connecticut Department of Corrections officer who did the same thing with union dues. So we can go in this a little bit more detail on Thursday on my show and talk about this, but this is something that has actually changed in Connecticut, and the Department of Labor has now sent out instructions as of May 13th of this year to unions saying that there is a new set of rules that are going to be followed, and we're going to be looking at this. So I think that's important for transparency in seeing how this money is being utilized.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about it on Right Now on WILI, Thursdays at 3 p.m.
Yeah, 3 to 4 p.m. You'll be able to tune in a couple days. It's going to be hot. So
There
you can
you
sit
go.
in the AC and listen to us again.
There you go. So we're coming to the end of our show now, and again, if we need people out there, we need people not only to show up on election days, but we also need people to show up at town council meetings, all different things, and also this weekend at the Boombox Parade. Get out there, have a good time. Forget about politics. Just think about what a great country you live in.